Thank you for taking the time to attend this hearing before Ohio EPA. The purpose of the hearing today is to obtain comments from any interested person regarding a draft general national pollutant discharge elimination system permit that may provide coverage to data centers in the state of Ohio. The NPDES general permit for discharges from data center facilities, permit number OHD000001, is a first-time issuance, and it would cover data center facility operations that propose to discharge the waters of the state. Both wastewater and stormwater from the data center facility are proposed for coverage with this permit. All interested people are entitled to attend and be represented and to present comments concerning the general draft permit, or draft general permit. All relevant comments received as part of the official record will be considered by the Director of Ohio EPA before a final decision is made regarding this permit. To be included in the official record, written comments must be received by Ohio EPA by the close of business, 5 p.m., January 16, 2025. These comments can be submitted today or entered into the online comment portal at ohioepa.commentinput.com.
It has been determined that a lowering of water quality of various waters of the state associated with granting coverage under this permit is necessary to accommodate important social and economic development in the state of Ohio. I have to call bullshit. I'm sorry. That is total bull. I worked for the federal government. We had to take an oath. Ohio EPA should have had to take an oath. And it should be to the people and the environment of the state of Ohio. This, when I read this, just as a common person off the street, this says they're allowed to pollute the water. Why would the Environmental Protection Agency tell them they're allowed to pollute the water? There are plenty of ways that they can handle this, using filtration, putting in wetlands. There's plenty of things that they can do so that they don't have to pollute our waterways. Also, in your 34-page document, it says like they can't dump into the lakes and stuff like that, but you don't cover a lot of other things. You don't cover canals. The state of Ohio is full of canals. Canals are extensions of the lakes. You don't cover them.
There's no mention of limiting the forever chemicals, and there's no requirement for baseline tests in these, whether it's the sanitary sewer system, the wastewater plants. There's no baseline to see how much our water has been degraded.
We already have 2 rivers in our state that's declared by the EPA the most polluted in the nation, the Ohio and the Cuyahoga. The rivers where I come from, around the Little Miami, the Great Miami River, has a lot of E. coli problems in them already. And we're going to add more water from a data system that increases that water flow into our rivers, which are our primary drinking sources. We're going to pollute them even further. I was reading through your Part 1, Section C2O, benzene, chloroform, hexane, styrene, toluene, vinyl chloride, xylenes. How do these chemicals help our aquatic life and our public drinking water sources? Those chemicals all will kill you. They're harmful to not only me, you, all of y'all, they're harmful to our entire ecosystem.
In 1960, Lake Erie was labeled dead due to industrial and agricultural pollution. When I was 11 years old in 2013, my community of about 400,000 people in Toledo were without fresh water for several days due to harmful algae blooms in Lake Erie. It was a scary and confusing time for everyone, especially a child, but to come into adulthood to realize those who are supposed to protect our environment are willing to sacrifice clean water for the economic growth of big data is horrifying. Amidst this technological revolution of the 21st century, it is your responsibility as the EPA to protect our environment and the communities from the consequences of repeating past atrocities. This general wastewater permit for data centers in Ohio will be catastrophic and will likely worsen the quality of life for our most vulnerable communities. There is no mention of PFAS in this permit, despite forever chemicals being a common additive in data centers' cooling systems. There is no requirement for baseline measurements to determine how these data centers will impact water quality. There's also no mention of concentration limits, which is prudent given data centers evaporate 80% of water sourced, leaving heavily concentrated pollutants in the water discharge. Despite the EPA's baseless claim that lowering water quality is necessary for social and economic development, there is no attention to social and economic issues around data centers' water sourcing or contaminants in water discharges, nor an analysis of alternatives. Passing this general wastewater permit will be catastrophic for Ohioans and future generations of this land we occupy, and it will bring great shame to the legacy of this agency.
Another concern is at the bottom of the first page, section 2, anti-degradation. If the facilities are not available or acceptable in the area, the Ohio EPA would let discharge and site-specific choices be driven by the economics, operation, and discharge drive the alternative selection. What are the alternative selections? And will they be treated prior to discharge?
I will mention also some specifics. Chemical additives mentioned before and PFAS chemicals are not mentioned in the general permit. Data centers use a multiplicity of these chemicals. PFAS is in the bloodstream of regulators as well as the rest of us, and in our children and grandchildren, particularly getting concentrated in younger generations. They can impact the function of most parts of the body, even affecting the overall intelligence of individuals in society. Change one molecule in a PFAS chemical, and it is a brand new chemical, and therefore already unregulated. This Ohio EPA draft permit would allow data center pollutant discharges to be combined with stormwater and bypass wastewater treatment plants. General permits are used to cover discharges that would have a minimal effect. Data center impacts will not be minimal. Ohio's already lacks environmental regulations, including T-norm discharges. Data centers, with all this, data centers will be flocking to our state, just as fracking and injection wells are turning Ohio into a pincushion. We are poisoning ourselves in this process, and no one escapes.
But section L talks about the reporting, which kind of makes me a little cautious because you guys say like analysis of pollutants that are not listed are not going to be reported. So I guess my biggest concern with that is like for the pollutants that are not listed and not included in this permit, if a data center were to have other pollutants, what are we doing about that? That really concerns me. I also think section T, duty to mitigate. So that's what a lot of my job is mitigation, finding mitigation credits. I think there needs to be more outline detail or some sort of just more regulation on that, because right now you guys have the wording, shall take all reasonable steps to minimize or prevent any discharge in violation of the permit, reasonable likelihood to affect human health or the environment. So that's a red flag to me, because that's what a lot of my job is, you know, you have really big companies, right, like Google or whatever, that can just pay that off or get mitigation somewhere else, and that's very concerning to me. So
you, the members of the panel, is considering allowing these foreign corporations to shortcut this expense, to allow unlimited water with no concern to the needs of the public is unconscionable and disrespecting of the public trust.
I just have two questions that I wanted to read into the record to get responses from EPA on. The first one is whether or not any data centers currently hold individual NPDES permit, and how more information about how this is currently being regulated, as we have over 217 data centers in Ohio currently. And the second question is just how did OEPA determine that a general permit is necessary in this instance, if it has been regulated via individual NPDES permits to this point? More information about how OEPA made that determination would be appreciated.
So we've been told today that if we have concerns about data centers, we can consult the PUCO or the Ohio Department of Health or the Ohio Department of Natural Resources or the Ohio Legislature. So we have all these choices of which to do in order to stop these things from coming into our community. So indeed, we need a 90-day extension period. Thank you for a short one, but we need a much longer one. Because there are, as you can see, there are so many comments here today.
And of course, there's some things that are being discharged that we have not had discharged into our water. some of the solvents, some of the stuff that they are using, it's going across wheels or whatnot that need to be lubricated. And I know that with a wastewater treatment plant, it can't treat all of those things. Oils are kind of tough. You've got the PFAS, they talk about that, microplastics. I'm really concerned about that being released, and they've been very careful, and they are treating that. And the final step is treating is with chlorine. Okay, and that in the heat of the water as well, that is coming out.
As members of this panel, it is your duty to uphold your oath of office to protect the people of the state of Ohio. This includes all aspects of pollution by these foreign corporations such as EMF, water, noise, light, harmful effects of radiation, etc.
I stand before you today as a voice for the American people and a defender of sacred rights endowed to us by our Creator, the right to clean land, pure air, and safe water. It is both my right and my duty to oppose the release of PFAS, known cancer-causing agents, and other toxic chemicals into Ohio's waterways, whether from data centers or any other source that brings harm to the people. These substances threaten the essential resources that sustain all of life. Today, I deliver a special deposit, a formal cease and desist notice to the EPA and all involved parties. Any action that harms our environment is a violation of the public trust and a disregard for the sacred duty to protect life. This is about people. This is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of conscience. It is my constitutional responsibility to act. I ask you, with all sincerity, to act with integrity for our children, for our communities, for the future of Ohio and America. Thank you, and I pray you to choose to honor the will of the American people with courage, compassion, and integrity.
Thank you. I will take that for the record.
Our job is to provide oversight to you, this is this panel, the men and women of this panel, to be held accountable for your behavior under your oaths of office to the United States Constitution, circa 1791, and the Ohio State Constitution, circa 1851. You, men and women, are the gatekeepers, fiduciaries of our safety from major foreign corporations whose only concern is profit.
It's ridiculous to give these organizations a shortcut to being passed when there's so many variances in the many different data centers that already exist in the state, 215 and counting with more. There's already many cases of a lot of our waterways being polluted.
You, the members of the EPA, are considering allowing this to happen because you work for a private corporation called the State of Ohio, which has more regards for the welfare of corporations than that of the people of this state. Their record stands. You are now on notice in your personal, private capacity as a man and a woman.
This general permit is just data center blank. No limit on the size, no limit on, how much or how much water they're going to use. I guess there is a little bit of the, with the eligibility restrictions about how much, if it's more than 2 million gallons a day, which is a lot. It doesn't, it is not eligible for this general permit. However, that still leaves a lot, under the umbrella that, it's not very specific at all to our communities.
You have no immunity of office when you violate your oath of office. When you guys violate your oath of office and cause a harm, you void out your immunity under your oath of office, or under your office that you're holding.
I mean, if y'all really considered an EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, there's nothing in these reports about safety for the Ohioans that live here. If you're really concerned about our safety, safety comes first, not economic values that the data centers are going to promise us. Because I can tell you, our lives are more important than a data center.
He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on.